Hi, I'm Aaron, and this is kind of a review sort of thing on my MMPR Blue Ranger helmet. Now, there's a bit of an unfortunate backstory with this one. I had this one, I saw this one already made fiberglass wise and resin wise, but when I got it from a guy on, I believe it was eBay. And now, here's the kind of annoying thing about this, and I think it was completely wrong what the guy did, is we got this helmet, it arrived, it was completely warped, completely bent out of shape, to the point where my dad had to kind of heat it up, clamp it, and leave it in the sun to bend it back into shape. And it's not perfect now, but it works. And now the guy had on his Etsy store or eBay store, he had one that was completed and one that wasn't warped at all. Now I get why you put one that was completed on, although I don't really, because if it's one that you're selling that isn't completed, you should have that picture as the first picture on eBay. But he had one that was not warped, perfectly painted. So we thought, of course, we were getting a perfect one that was ready painted. But no, when we opened this, it wasn't painted, it was really warped, which I was really quite pissed off over, to be honest. And it wasn't cheap either. We paid him about 145 quid for it. So we complained to him, said this really wasn't on, and said, look, we want our money back. And he said no originally. So what we did in the end was we got PayPal involved. They kind of forced him to give us our money back. But anyway, this is the helmet completed. I love the blue. Now, you people already know this, but if you look on Google or even on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the show itself, there are so many different variations of the blue helmet, it's ridiculous. Same with the suit, so many different variations of that. So I couldn't get the colour I actually wanted for this, so I went through a couple of episodes from the show to find out what other colour I thought would be good. And I saw this colour, which I thought, okay, can't get the colour I really want, so I'm going to go for this colour. So I brought this colour, which took us flipping ages to find. And originally, we brought a colour before this, which didn't work or wasn't the right colour, so we sent that back. So we couldn't get the colour we wanted, and the colour we brought that we thought was the actual colour I wanted was not the right blue at all. In fact, it was pretty much purple, but it was known as a blue. But yeah, I love how this helmet turned out. Now, there's a couple of things that I haven't done on this, because on the American footage, it doesn't have what I'm about to tell you. So on the American footage, it should have it, or on the Japanese footage I should say, it should have white lines across here from the top and along the back here and going back from here. But on the American Mighty Morphin show itself, if you look at David Yost's helmet, it doesn't actually have the white bits. So I've chosen not to do that. And what I've also chosen not to do is put the clasps on the helmet, because this is quite thin material, or thin plastic or fiberglass, so I didn't want to chance breaking the helmet, considering the issues we've had with it already. So I didn't want to chance breaking it. So I chose to just do it with magnets, which I wouldn't do normally, as you know from all my others. But with this one I chose to do magnets. And I mean, with my early ones I did magnets, but now I normally do the clasps. But yeah, got silver paint here, which I'm gonna give a disclaimer on. Again, it wasn't perfect because of how the helmet came, so we did as good as we possibly could do. Got silver both sides, the yellow eye piece on both sides. The silver on the mouth, as out of all the silver bits, I think has come out the best. And we were going to try putting some breathing holes in it, but again, didn't want to because of how damaged the helmet was originally. So, and I can still breathe in this fine anyway. Fits me perfect. I mean, it's a little tight and it does get very hot in there, but it does fit me. And what I was telling you about this plastic, what I was telling you in the previous videos about the plastic, the mouldable plastic we use for the visor, we used it again on this helmet, which with this helmet it was a little bit more tricky because of how warped the helmet was, so we had to kind of fiddle with it to make sure it fitted properly. And again, I will say, do not use tint on these mouldable plastic things, because you have to heat the mouldable plastic up to kind of bend it in shape. And if you put tint on it, it ruins the plastic, it shrivels the tint, and it just looks awful really with the mouldable plastic. Just looks awful with the tint on. So, oh, and another thing, do not use, I'll say this again, do not use the tint on the mouldable plastic. Use spray paint, black spray paint on the mouldable plastic, because black spray paint works fine, works absolutely to steal a phrase from Power Rangers, works more phenomenal, and you can still see out of it perfectly fine. And another thing I want to say about the mouldable plastic, do not waste it. It costs an absolute fortune, this stuff. I'll repeat, do not waste it. It costs an absolute fortune. But what I have found now is I've found the same mouldable plastic, but it's kind of tinted plastic, so it still does the same thing, and you can still mould it, but the way the plastic is, they've somehow done it tinted, so it looks like a normal visor, but you still do the same thing with warming it up and moulding it into it. But I think it's a great helmet, and I'm gonna say don't buy from the guy I brought this from, because he is not a very good helmet maker, and he's pretty rude actually as well. But I'm not going to mention his name because I'll probably get backlash if I mention his name. So yeah, that's my MMPR Blue Ranger helmet. I'm really happy with it. Looks more phenomenal. So despite how warped and damaged the helmet was, turned out absolutely perfect. So bye bye, and I'll see you later.